and the hiring of the future will be mostly virtual. At least 90% would be virtual. There would be cases where senior levels would still go and meet in person and then they would hire people, but 90% would be virtual. So gone are those days where you have to pack your bags and your things to go and attend an interview. Right? So it's gone. It's not going to come back for sure.
Now it is clear that COVID 19 will not exit our life as quickly as it came roaring in. As we talk of recovery begins for businesses around the world, another important reason for conversation is how the pandemic has fundamentally changed the way we do things in the workplace, in many cases for the better. Hello and welcome to the Honest Talk by Freak Folks. I'm Harsh Pandey. For this particular session, our guest will be Mr. Kadhiravan Jayachandiran sir. He is a founder of YourExcelGuy. His course is recognized as the world best Vlookup course and Excel for Beginners course on Udemy, highest rated courses, and he accomplished this feat in a span of 6 months from the date of launch. He is an HR by heart and analytics profession with over 11 years of experience. He has been a recruiter for a very long time with the Royal Dutch Shell and business lead at Tiger Analytics. So first of all, sir, I welcome you to in this session. Thank you so much for joining and actually agreeing to share your thoughts with us.
Hey, thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity. Right, so really glad I'm here.
Thank you, sir. It's our pleasure too. So moving to the topic of today's session, which we have chosen is how the coronavirus is changing hiring and recruiting going forward. Employers are searching for new talents while others have eliminated jobs that are now permanently gone. As a result of this disruption to everyone's life, workers will reevaluate their careers. Where are they going to go from here? What industries should they go into? What will have they more secure future? Needs have changed, attitudes are different. Workers now worry about a stable paycheck and their ability to pay their bills. So, sir, my very first request to you is please explain to our viewers how this coronavirus is changing hiring and recruiting process going forward.
Okay. So my view, in a lot of, I still do a lot of interviewing and recruiting, right? So a lot of things have changed, obviously, for sure, that we are very well aware of. But how it has impacted the current generation of students, there is two aspects to it. One, the working generation, which is already working somewhat the other way, who kind of already got about 2-3 years of experience, who started working before 2019, and this other generation who started working after 2019. And there's a paramount difference of these two workforces already, right? And the hiring space is impacted. A lot of folks who have actually graduated after 2019, who are in to enter or who have entered the job market by then. And how it has impacted is on the social life, right? There is this comfort that everyone got, which they are already happy about, because for over a decade, India as a country has outsourced its talent. But the current generation is now truly looking at working for Indian products, working for something that would bring an impact within the country itself. Like, that's a wide open talent. And the organizations have also realized that it is not easy to scout talent at this point in time. And every single organization, not only in India, obviously across the globe, made a change to their hiring policies and even processes, right, to a greater extent. And that's the kind of impact it has got. And the hiring of the future will be mostly virtual. At least 90% would be virtual. There would be cases where senior levels would still go and meet in person and then they would hire people, but 90% would be virtual. So gone are those days where you have to pack your bags and your things to go and attend an interview, right? So it's gone. It's not going to come back for sure.
Indeed, sir. So can we conclude
that's a very first basic impact here.
So can we conclude that the hybrid workforce of on-site and remote employees will become more normalized? A hiring process that combines virtual and in-person process become increasingly standard due to this associated cost and time savings and all.
In my context, I think it is already normalized. So we are already living there. So there's no changes to it.
Indeed, sir. And sir, my next question to you is actually jack of all trades and master of none is a common maxim for people, irrespective of by their interest. Focus or fail is the prevailing career advice, and the people are repeatedly told that specialization is a key to success. But sir, do you think these are the things still applicable in this fast-paced changing of innovation?
Uh, Once again, there are two contexts to it. So how you wanted to develop your career is something that everyone has to think about. Earlier, a decade ago, people did not really have a choice about thinking about what kind of career I could get in, right? So they usually picked up whatever came in their way. But I think the current generation is very well aware of what to pick. And if not, I think they have to definitely think about what should they do in their career. And if they think, okay, I will go to a job which is paying me really well and I'll get settled there, probably work for that entire organization for 20, 30 years. I think none of this current generation people or the person, or the students would say that, right? So they wanted to go and work for a company, solve the problem and move on from there. And in that context, uh, I think majority of things would definitely have an impact in terms of the skill sets, right? So you cannot become an expert of one trade when you are starting off your career. And this is a time where you have to explore things. So let's say you join an organization and you develop a particular skill, you move on to another one, and then you develop another skill that's going to help you on the longer run. You can only become a specialist if you have been brought up as a specialist from your childhood, right? And that's this fundamental difference there. A lot of us, people who play sports, are mostly generalist. And most of these students who wanted to focus only on study may become a specialist, right? So that also has an impact on the upbringing of our parents.
Right.
But what would help them in succeeding or in their career, uh, if they wanted to work on a startup, bring an impact, you have to be probably a jack of all trades, right? You have to know everything, but you don't really have to be an expert of one thing. These people would probably become the future CEOs of small startups or multinational organizations or something, right? So they need all the skills. So you become a leader, and you don't want to become a leader, right? Which people at this current generation don't want to, right? So they always want to do. All of them wanted to become a leader. So for them, I think specialization might help get into one role, but I don't think you have to stick to it. You might have to diversify your skill set and then get to the top ladder. I think we're just getting started with our entrepreneurial revolution in India, and every single one of those leaders, right? So India is a leader country. We have that talent naturally, and they have started to realize, and they wanted to put that effort. So in next 10 years, if you want to be really successful, I would say be a generalist. Learn every single thing. Don't be an expert, but ensure that how to get it done in a better way, right? Not just learning is good enough, right? So learning can help you, but you have to also learn how to improve it. Yeah.
Indeed, sir, this was really a very great answer. I'm sure people, those who are watching this session, they are also going to find us meaningful and actually insightful kind of a thing. So my next question to you is actually, we all know the business world has changed dramatically over the last few decades, and now we live in a connected society where change can be fast-paced, constant, and unpredictable. Rapid advance in the technology have created an environment where the internet, smartphones, and social media are ubiquitous, and the 2008 global financial crisis and this 2020-2019 pandemic have increased the sense of turbulence, danger, and unpredictability in the certain areas. So that I want to know, in your opinion, what are the critical skills required to excel in this fast-paced changing world?
Uh, okay. At this point in time, if you'd ask for the next 15 years, 20 years, one key skill that everyone should learn is how to deal with change, right? Uh, it's going to be a lot of business changes, irrespective of the nature, right? So people who have been doing business for 10 years, 15 years, 100 years are all going through a change. And people predominantly in industries where it was not changing for a very long time, like oil and gas, automotive, manufacturing. These industries never changed for a very long time. Obviously there was innovation, but the innovation brought in new talent, but the existing talent did not change. And the next few decades, or at least 2 3 decades, especially for India, will definitely deal with a lot of changes, and people have to be really okay with it, right? And I think the current generation of talent I see is so impatient with change, right? So they want to change, but not in a way they want it, right? So that's there. And the existing workforce should also be ready to make all those changes. If not, they're going to become redundant, right? So that's one thing. And the second talent is obviously willingness to go and take up new responsibilities. since there is change that is already coming in your way, you have to realize sticking to one job and then trying to do the same role over and over again is not going to help you. You might have to see if you can take up more responsibilities and then grow up the ladder instead of just sticking in there. So that's going to become a skill itself, right? So other than every other soft skill, every other technical skills, all this would matter, but your technical skills are already redundant, right? So it's going to become redundant. Everyone can learn technical skills at this point in time, right? We can see in news and media outlets, 50-year-old or 60-year-old a person coming and learning to code, and then they develop the software on their own.
Exactly.
So that's the kind of resources that is available there. So don't rely on technical skills, rely on more human skills and how we can become a better manager, better leader. And that's where there is scarcity, right? So if you have to talk about demand, leaders are in demand. So please become a leader.
Indeed, sir, this was truly impressive. Sir, my next question to you is, actually, many people believe that the future of gig workers hold great potential because it tends to be more meaningful and rewarding in more than just the monetary aspect. So, how do you see the future of gig economy? And other is there's one more concept called solopreneur. So, how do you see both of the things?
Mhm. Correct. Okay, so I'll address the gig economy first.
Sure.
Future is gig economy. Imagine every single one in the world having a full-time job, or at least in India, everyone having a full-time job and everyone also doing their gig works. That's going to be a reality, and I think the percentage of this population or this community is rapidly increasing, and it's going to grow for another 20-30 years as well as we go along. That's primarily because there would be greater demand for skill sets in the market, and that skill set would not be available. There would be an demand and supply problem, and that would be masked only with the help of gig economy, right? And so if you have a secondary skill that no one knows about it, emphasize on it, I think you would definitely do great, and you can help and bring an impact. And that's going to definitely grow. At this point in time, it's majorly driven by few platforms, right? And I think if you would notice, LinkedIn as a platform has huge potential, and they kind of slowly going that direction, right? They are launching features in those directions. Their recent feature called reviews of your services is a greater step in those directions. So if you use LinkedIn, you can leverage that, ask people to give review about your secondary skills, and that's going to bring in more gigs. That's for sure. And a lot of employers will have trouble in this area because this traditional organization and enterprise organizations have policies about not doing a gig work, right? They wanted 100% of it, and pandemic has changed it completely. All this while it was an employer driven market, but it is slowly moving towards an candidate driven market. And this great resignation is also a signal of that, right? So that I think great resignation is the very first step. It happened only with the technical roles, and I think soon, another 5 years or 6 years, it will happen for every other role that you can think of, right? It's going to happen for sure, other than white collar and blue collars. And on the second part of solopreneurial, I think gig economy is the first step of solopreneurial, right? So they wanted to get into entrepreneurship, but they're testing it out, right? So they wanted to see if someone is paying for a skill, right? I can teach math, but I'm working in a technical role, right? You're not willing to teach technical skills, but you're trying to teach math because you love it. And that's the start of solopreneurial. So you start there and you see there is a potential, then obviously you'll think about improving it. You want to scale that out, then becomes a solopreneurial, and then it becomes an entrepreneurial thing, right? So obviously that's how things evolve, but I think both are mostly correlated. And gig economy will probably propel solopreneurial and entrepreneurship for India. So that's how I see it. I think that's going to have a lot of support, right? That solopreneur is going to have a bigger impact more than entrepreneurial things.
Indeed, sir. And there's one more aspect. Actually, you have been in this recruitment process. So I want to ask you, because you can answer this better. What we have seen is that many job seekers don't realize is that 75% of the job applications are rejected before they are seen by human eyes. Before your resume reaches the hands of a live person, it often must pass muster or what is known as applicant tracking system. So sir, I want to I want you to share some tips what one need to be know about applicant tracking system and what best practices one can do to optimize his her resume and beat those bots.
Okay. So since you asked about this application, right? So when I was working for Shell, we kind of did a very interesting project. I remember there was a decent research done in terms of how recruiters look at candidates' resume across globally. The time a recruiter takes to look at your resume and decide whether you would fit into this role or not is only about 7 seconds. Just 7 seconds, right? I think there is an article about it. I can share the link also.
Yeah.
So this 7 seconds is the time I would spend in terms of looking at a particular candidate and decide whether I want to move this candidate forward to a next role or not. So obviously, a lot of applicant tracking systems would have huge pile of applications which is not even looked by anyone in these organizations, right? Because this ATS is employed by companies which is little larger in volume. The number of employees they have might be higher, or the number of people they hire would be more. That's why they kind of employ ATS. And this ATS itself might not be AI friendly, but there's no way you can skip this process, right? You have to apply to the job. But a lot of the times, the problem I see is these candidates who apply to it, they just look at the job description and they apply to it, but they don't do enough research in the back end. If I was a candidate, I would apply to a particular company. If I see a role, let's say with freak folks, then I would probably apply to your job on the platform. Then I would go and search about where is this company, who is the recruiter of that company. Everything is available in public, right? It's going to take only 1 minute, or maybe I'll browse it. I'll see, okay, this company is in this place, and I think Harsh's co-founder is kind of running the organization. I think let me give him a buzz in LinkedIn, right? Or I'll see his activity. What is he up to, right? Is he active on LinkedIn or not, right? If he's active, then I'm going to buzz him, right? Hey, Harsh, I think you kind of have a role here. I'm interested in that. Can we have a chat about it? That's it. Very simple and done, right? This need not be the founder. It can be the recruiter. It can be the technical person who is related to that particular role you apply to, right? You would definitely find those people in that organization. That's why they're hiring. And you can reach out to them, and then you can give that intent. That way, you have already surpassed ATS, right? You are there in front of those folks who are some other way involved in the decision process. They need not be the decision makers directly, right? But they would be somewhere involved. And if you reach out to anyone in that entire process, right? If you have 10 people, and if you reach out to one person of the 10 people, it is very easy to get into the pipeline. And then you can tell them, hey, I think I'm interested. Let me know if you can have a chat. They're not responding. I'll once again send a chat, maybe 2 days later, asking, hey, can we have a chat? I think I'm really interested about learning this. Even if I'm missing out on an opportunity, I think I still want to learn what the role has, how the organization culture is, right? What's up, right? If you know that you're already rejected, why leave it empty? Still, at least go and understand. And next time when a role comes up, you will definitely be there in their books. I think one candidate called me 2 years back or 1 year back. Even though the role was closed, he was interested in learning what the role has to, right? So that way, they might reach out to you maybe 1 year later, or maybe 6 months down the line. You never know, but you would have learned something about it. And that's the way I would see about bypassing the ATS. But just applying on ATS and then waiting for someone to call you is not going to happen. Until unless you are in the first 10, 20 candidates, right? If they post the job now, and if you apply in the next 5 minutes, then it works out. But probability is you would probably not apply, right? So you have to be really lucky about that.
Okay, thank you. Actually, you have shared the whole process, and I'm sure the people those who are watching this session, they are going to find this insightful, and they are going to actually learn from this. And actually, I'm very much impressed from you this answer. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing. And I can say there's a lot more to learn from you, but today I don't want to take too much of your time. So moving to my last question of this session, or rather, it's a kind of a request to you, sir. What are the kind of advice would you like to give to students those who are still in their colleges? They are in last year or actually pre-final year. What are the kind of skills they must focus on in order to make themselves more compatible with the industry in order to secure or get a good job?
Okay. I think the future generation of workforce should be all entrepreneurial. At least about 50% should be entrepreneurial in nature, and then 50% should be hard skills, right? There will be a good balance in that. But if you are a person who wanted to develop skills and then go to a job, like I would say, everyone can think about starting your own business, right? So there will be something in your life that you would really love doing, right? It can be going through Instagram, it can be cooking, it can be dancing, it can be singing, right? Something that you love when no one is around you, right? And pick that item, whatever you love, and then think of making that as a business. That if you're dancing, how do you make it as a business? If you're reading books, how can you make that as a business, right? And if you give that perspective of bringing entrepreneurship into your real life or things that you love, then a lot of things will open up your eyes. You would start asking more questions to yourself, right? Okay, so if I have to make this a business, who would buy it? What kind of purchase they would do, right? Where can I go and sell it? What is the market? So once you start asking all those questions, you will develop those skills, right? You would slowly start developing your market research skills. You slowly start developing your customer understanding skills. When you talk to those people who potentially buy your businesses or someone who wants to view you, then you would understand the audience, and then you're directly understanding the customer behavior. And these are like super important skills for you to survive in any role, right? And when you're in college, that's super easy to do, right? Because you already have a network of friends and folks who can come and help you out, right? So that can be, you can have like 10 friends, but one or two will definitely come up and then tell like, I think you're doing good, so let's go and do this business, right? So some are really good at doing and handwriting, their handwriting is beautiful. Then think about a calligraphy business. Someone can be like really, they can really write good letters, right? So obviously we love letters, and if you know writing letters, then think about doing that as a business. So that's kind of skill, I would say that perspective skill is something that you can definitely learn and then improve on. Other than that, I think hard skills is something you can learn and then unlearn, learn another skill and then unlearn, learn another skill and unlearn. But keep doing it until you find a particular skill that really intrigues you, right? Some might not love coding, but try it, right? Only then you will know whether you are good at it, whether naturally you are inclined to it or not. Then go for it. And on top of all that, I deal with a lot of tier 2 and tier 3 students, and these students lack one primary skill. It's confidence. It's not communication, right? They obviously have language barrier, which is absolutely okay with any employer of current age and the future employers. But what they don't have is the confidence, right? So they know things, they can do it, and they can actually tell it. But if you ask a question, probability is that they would have their own perception of things, right? So they have 1,000 things going on their mind. What would this person think? And they worry about the result and the outcome. I would say just forget about every other things. Just be confident about what you know and then speak it out. That's okay if you're going to lose. But that skill is very, very important, and that's lacking, right? So that's not there with a lot of students.
Sir, this was really a very meaningful and insightful advice. And again, thank you so much, sir, for joining and giving your important time. It was a kind of a healthy conversation with you over the topic, and we look forward to conduct more such sessions with you in future. Thank you again, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Harsh. Thank you very much, and have a good day. Yeah. Bye. Yeah.
On the ground is where I stand. Never give up, that was always the plan. It's so cold outside.